What I want to talk about a little bit tonight is what we can do when we have a loved one in the grip of an ice addiction, because it's all good and well to understand that they're sick, understand it may not be their fault, but it doesn't change the fact we've got a nut job living in a house, and we want to do everything we can to try and get them help. I used ice myself for 9 years, and it wasn't glamorous. I did all the things that I never thought I'd do. I stole my mum's jewellery, I pawned all my belongings, I robbed every employer I had, and I would literally do anything I needed to do to make sure I had enough ice to use. And the reason I used was really simple. Ice felt really good for a long time. It was instant. Didn't matter what sort of day I had, who I owed money to, what the police were doing. If I had enough gear, I could just put all that behind me and have a good time. That's why I used. It felt good. It wasn't the school I went to. It wasn't that my mum didn't hug me enough, or my mum didn't hug me too much, or I didn't get the job, or I didn't get the school. I used ice because it felt good. And it felt good for a really long time until it didn't feel good anymore. And I started suffering from psychosis. And I would do strange things like walk up and down my street, knocking on my neighbours' doors, saying goodbye to them because the CIA were after me and they were going to shoot me later that night, and there was nothing I could do about it, and I was just here to say goodbye. Or thinking that every car on Pascal Vale Road was the hit team. And I couldn't leave. And in the end just being so scared and my amygdala going berserk that I'd be in the fetal position just rocking backwards and forwards until someone called the police to take pity on this guy who's in the fetal position crying on the nature strip. That's the funny stuff. The ugly stuff is, coming home at 2 o'clock in the morning and grabbing my infant children and bundling him into my wife's room and putting furniture up against the door because the people in the fictitious car chase from the city are going to come inside and shoot us all, and having a screaming wife and screaming kids, not knowing what the hell's going on, But the danger of ice, and I see it in people every day and experience it myself, is that, we can experience all that trauma, but keep going back to it. Keep going back to it. I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to do that again. And a week later, 2 weeks later, I've got a pipe in my hand that I'm using again. And us addicts can really mean it, that we want to stop. I can look mum in the eye and promise her I'm never going to use again. And I can be really believable because I mean it. When my firstborn son was born addicted to drugs through no fault of his own, and I pulled up and stopped using all drugs for that month he was in hospital while he was detoxing. I made that kid a lot of promises, Things are going to be different, I'm never going to use again, drugs aren't going to be part of our family. He's wailing, being fed morphine to keep him alive. I'm making a lot of really sincere promises to him. And 28 days when DHS let us take him home, after some pretty rigorous interviewing, you could not convince me I was ever going to use ice again. Ever. No way. How could I? You have to be a sociopath, wouldn't you? After inflicting that on my own child. So we have a party. My son's alive. Invite all the family. He's been out of hospital a week. I get on the piss. The beers aren't hitting the spot anymore. Let's get some cognac. Up the bottle shop, up the cognac. By 11 o'clock, I've got my hand around my cousin's neck. He'd better get me some ice and get it quick, or things are going to get ugly. Now, he could not have convinced me the week before that I would do that. How could I do that, My son's asleep. 20 metres away, survived a detox. And I'm in the garage waking up. I didn't know why. The next day I felt terrible. How could I have done that? My wife's angry, my mother's disappointed. I don't know why I did it, I just did it because I got hammered. I understand today that I was suffering from addiction, It didn't matter who I promised, my son, myself, whoever. I was not in control of my own actions. I'm a drug addict, which means that without treatment, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop. You know, I had a beautiful way to describe rock bottom, you know, because I always thought there was going to be an event that would stop me, you know. But I was told the other day, rock bottom is when you stop digging. And unfortunately, I didn't stop digging until 34. Yeah, I had my first experience with alcohol at 12. My friends all had a little swig. I drank 3/4 of a bottle, had my stomach pumped, and ended up in hospital at 12. So there was a little alarm bell going off. By 34, I was, using ice and heroin more days than not. Why? Because I was an untreated drug addict. And drug addiction is a progressive illness that will get worse over time, not better. So I just did what any normal drug addict would do without treatment, and I progressively got worse and worse and worse. Until eventually, I had someone who stood up to me, which was my third wife. And she said, "Fuck you. I'm not putting up with this anymore. You can't come here anymore. You can't see the children. We want no part of you." First person ever, because I was a real bully. Us addicts can be real bullies, yeah? We'll push and we'll pull and we'll use all sorts of manipulation to get you to do what we want in active addiction. But I finally came up against someone that didn't want to play that game anymore. And to have access to my children, I was required to get clean. And I met some people that guided me in the right way, and I eventually got clean. But it was only through treatment. It wasn't about rock bottoms or me wanting to. Was I finally engaged in some treatment. So what I want to talk about tonight, in a long-winded way, is how we can encourage people who are suffering from ice addiction to engage in treatment. Because if you have a loved one in your life who's using ice, I'm sorry, but the countless pep talks you're giving them and the flat and the money and whatever else you're doing, they're never going to stop. A true ice addict or true drug addict of any nature will not stop without treatment, because it's beyond their capacity. Who's got someone at home who's using ice? Fantastic. Hands up, don't be shy. Awesome. Yeah, now. Let's do now. Sorry, can I have some hands again? Can I grab you? What's your name? What's your name? Deborah. And this person, do they live with you? Okay. And how long has this person been using ice for? Okay, great. Deborah?
Yep.
Okay. Going to do a little experiment here, Deborah. All right? I could fall flat on my face, but who dares wins, eh? Okay. I want to see if you identify first. Is this it? Okay. So when I used ice, or any drug for that matter, I would feel really, really good. That's what I used. Yeah? Tremendous amount of relief. Anyone who's used ice knows what that feels like. Maybe you haven't used it in a week, a few days. That first hit, oh, fuck, that's good. Yeah? We know what I'm talking about? That's why we use. Yeah, because it feels really good. And it's instant. I can have an argument with my wife, whoever, have no money in my pocket. That first hit, whoa. That's what I'm using. It's really powerful. Yeah? Instant relief from my circumstances. Instant relief from my emotional anguish. Instant relief from my social maladjustment. Yeah? But I'm a drug addict, which means when I use a drug, I can't stop. Yeah, countless times I would ring my partner, wife, say, "Sweetheart, I'll be home in a couple of hours, I'm just going to the pub." I'm lying to her, I'm going to my dealers, and I've got every intention of just having a couple of puffs and coming home. I'm not lying to her. I want to be home at 8 o'clock for dinner. Yeah? I'm past the lie detector test at 4 when I call it. But I can't stop. I keep using, then I have a whack and then I turn my phone off and I come home on Sunday. Yeah, that's not my intention. Yeah? And that reaction, which Louise touched on before, affects about 5 to 10% of people. There's somewhere between 5 and 10% of us that when we use drugs, we simply do not have the capacity to stop. Now, am I born with that? Is that environmental? Who cares? It's really irrelevant. You know, it'd be nice if someone could tell me one day, but it's irrelevant to what I need to do to stop. So me personally, I don't dedicate any headspace to it. Yeah? But because, as a direct consequence of simply how much drugs I'm using, things happen in my life. Yeah? I lose my job. My mental health suffers because I haven't slept in 3 days and the shadows are starting to move and the CIA's after me. Yeah? My relationships suffer. Financial issues. What else? Accommodation, a couch surf. Reese, this is killing me. The net result of what initially was that awesome feeling and an immediate relief I got ends up quite painful. My life ends up in crisis. I'm lurching from one crisis to the next. Is this familiar? Yeah, okay, good. Means you're in the right place. Okay? Now, over 15 years, I would lurch from one crisis to the next. And I'm doing this to see if people in the room can identify. And each time there was a crisis, I would have what I call this pain-induced moment of clarity. Fuck, my life's falling apart. I've got to do something different, man. Yeah? I've got to pull up. This is really fucked. Yeah? And I would make a bunch of promises. Not only to myself, but to Mum as well. I'm going to stop. I promise. I can see the error of my ways now. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to be a 9 to 5 man. I'll be home for dinner. And I'm just going to change. I've finally grown up. And I've finally seen that I've got to live a different way now. And I really mean it. I really mean it. And I'll sell you some hope and some new promises and a new plan. And I'll have what? A short period of abstinence. Where I don't use or I use less for a while. The good old-fashioned pull my head in for a while. Yeah? Things will quieten down. I'll pay a few bills. I'll be home for dinner a few nights. My wife will let me back in the bedroom. And everything will seem okay for a while. But what I wasn't aware of, I need to do something about my handwriting. For 15 years, something I wasn't aware of is that there's consequences for me of not using drugs. There's consequences of me being sober that I was not aware of. Within a short period of time of being sober, I started to get really bored, lethargic, resentful. That wife or girlfriend that was begging to take me back, I'm suddenly staring at her thinking, what's in it for me? I get depressed again. Basically, me and drugs, without drugs, was quite painful as well. Was I consciously aware of that? No, I wasn't. I just knew life didn't sparkle enough for me. I wasn't really happy. So after a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, a month, sometimes 3 months was the maximum for me I could last. I'd say, fuck it. Fuck it. The exact opposite of all these really sincere, loving promises I'd made. And I'd go and use. Just a little bit. But hang on, I can't use this a little bit. Fuck, it's Sunday again. What am I going to tell her? I've done this again. What's happened? Yeah. For 15 years, I lived in unsustainable relief, pain, unsustainable relief, or pain. And the tail was wagging that dog. I had no control over which part of that cycle I sat in. None whatsoever. When the drugs were finished with me, they were finished with me. Yeah? And they'd give me a break for a while. And when they wanted some, it didn't matter what I'd promised to whom or what I'd promised, I would relapse. Now when I realised that, or that was explained to me, It explained 15 years of chaos. It explained a lot. It was quite humbling to realise that I was not in control, and any success I'd had was in spite of myself. But I'd lived in a cycle of addiction where the drugs took me where they wanted to. Can you see any of that in your loved one at home? Fantastic, you're in the right place. Really good. Did you know that was going on? Yeah. Does he or she? Cool. We've just saved half an hour. We don't have to convince anyone. Kind of, yeah. Okay, great. Anyone else? Got loved ones at home, they can relate to that? Yes, no, maybe? Yeah? Okay, good. Good. So what are we going to do about it? Families will always fall into two categories, or members of the family. And I've seen families from all different cultures, colours, socioeconomic backgrounds, and for whatever reason we all fall into the same trap. So we've got little Jackson down here. For 15 years he was stuck down his ditch, or I was stuck down my ditch. My family aren't stupid. They knew that things weren't going that well for me, and they loved me. So they would periodically run to the edge of this ditch because they want to help me. They want to get me out. They want to see me get on in life and kick on. Now, my grandfather was the classic persecutor. He was a self-made millionaire from South Africa, and he would run to the edge of that ditch and he would call me a disgrace. You're an absolute disgrace, he'd say. How could you behave like this? You've had all the best opportunities, you've had the best education, your family's done everything for you, and this is the way you're behaving. You're an absolute disgrace. Pull your socks up. Yeah. Now, he was doing that because he loved me, but what he was really trying to do was shame me out of my addiction. But you can't shame someone out of addiction any more than you can shame someone out of cancer. Look at you with your tumour. You ungrateful bastard, how dare you? We'd all say, Grandpa, if your head, mate, what are you doing? But for some reason, when we've got a loved one suffering addiction, we let Grandpa do that. We let Mum do that. We let the other siblings do that. Why? It's because we don't understand addictions and illness. Shaming someone out of addiction, you might as well, flap your arms and try and fly to the moon. It's not going to happen. Might make you feel better, got it off your chest, but it hasn't achieved anything. It's a complete and utter waste of time. Yeah? The other category people fall into is enabling. My mum, she was the best mum you could have as a drug addict. She was awesome. She would go and find houses for me. She would rent them, she'd decorate them, just in case I met a nice girl, because it was the next wife that was going to fix me. She'd say, a young gentleman can't not have a car, so she'd make sure I had a car. She wanted me to be occupied during the day, so she'd guilt my brother, who was successful, to have a job at his company, and I would turn up stoned, sit in the corner, and act like I was doing him a favour that I was there. Yeah. She'd make sure that I had food. Yeah. She made sure I had money. She was wonderful. Really, really good. But what my mum didn't understand was that makes as much sense as in, oh my God, my son's suffering from stage 3 cancer. Let's make sure he's got a nice house, a car, a job, and he's fed. We'd all say, Mum, but why isn't he going to the hospital? He doesn't want to. Well, who cares? Burn the house down. He's got it. Oh no, if we just keep him at a certain level, and don't let him get arrested, he'll grow out of this. No, he's not. Complete and utter waste of time. Enabling is actually even more dangerous than shaming. Because shaming, I just avoided my grandfather. Christmas Day we'd kind of pass like ships around the table and not talk to each other. Enabling is more dangerous. Because what happens is, for a very long time, my ditch was really comfortable. I was down a ditch and everyone else could see it. But I couldn't. How could I? I had a nice house. I had a car. You know, I could fake that I was half normal to girls for a while, until they realised he's a raging drug addict and they'd run. You know, I had money in my pocket. I could even sit there and swap stories about work. Yeah. And that comfortability blocked my ability to see that I actually had a problem. You know, over the years, some brave people would say, Jackson, I think you've got a problem. What are you talking about? I haven't got a problem. My life's great. How dare you say that about me? How dare you? Yeah. So the enabling has the capacity to keep our addicts sick for a very, very long time. Very long time. Yeah. So when we have someone suffering from addiction, we need to identify what we're doing that's blocking them from A, seeing they've got a problem, and 2, engaging in treatment. Yeah? Who's guilty of enabling? Anyone? Oh, I love it. There we go. Enabling. You know the most ironic thing about enabling? I see really lovely, good people sacrifice really big chunks of their life to the addict. You know, go around and check on them, and financial sacrifices, and cook their meals and let them have them in their home, and really sacrifice their life. But the sad thing is, it's achieving nothing. You're giving it to the addiction. You're not giving it to your loved one, because you're keeping your loved one sick. All those sacrifices you're making, you're giving to the addiction, not them. So, what we want to do is identify where we sit, and sometimes we'll swing. You know, my mother would get so frustrated sometimes, she'd abuse the hell out of me and call me a little shit, everything I've ever done, it's a complete waste, I hate you. And then she'd swing back racked with guilt and get me a new car. Yeah? So you can swing backwards and forwards, but most people will sit in one position where they feel comfortable. My grandfather felt comfortable as a persecutor. My mum was a classic enabler. So what we want to do, we've got to shut all this down, because it's a complete and utter distraction. All enabling is a waste of time. All shaming is a waste of time. So what have we got to do? We've got to stop. We've got to stop. So old grandpa needs to be told to, if he's got nothing nice to say, to be quiet. And mum needs to stop all this stuff. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah. I've had people spend many a night in a park and go to rehab the next day. Yeah? Because what happens is, we need to take responsibility as a family to how we've conditioned our addict. Yeah? I was conditioned for 14 years that my drug addiction got me a house and got me a car and got me money. That was normal to me. So that's what I came to expect. Yeah? I didn't believe that my family would ever stop doing that. Why would they? They've always done it. This is not my fault. Yeah? So they would say things like to me like, we can't keep doing this forever. And I think, yes you can. You're going to. It's only when they actually stop, hang on, the goalposts have moved here, and I need to go through a process of acceptance. Because I'm convinced, no, mum's going to cave. She'll cave. It's been a day, it's been 2 days, it's been 3 days. Hang on, I don't think she's coming back. I don't think she's going to pay the rent. Hang on a second, I'm starting to get knocks from landlords. My car has got repossessed. I don't think she's coming back. I think she actually means it this time. Yeah? It took me a while to actually accept the fact that all the enabling was going to stop. Because I thought she was going to cave. Because I was conditioned that when I had a tantrum, she'd do what I want. Yeah? So as nice as it would be to go home to our addict and say, listen, I've changed and we're not going to do this anymore and you need to understand really quickly that you're going to be homeless. They won't. They'll be like, nah, she's going to cave. Because we've conditioned them that we cave. Yeah? They're like a kid with a dummy. Yeah? When you take away that 3-year-old's dummy, or pacifier, and they crack the shits, They don't know why you've taken it away. They think they're entitled to it. They don't know that, their teeth are going to come out and all that stuff and we've got to do it. Same with the drug addict. When you stop enabling, they don't know why. So we have a tantrum. You're a little hissy fit. And then we land, okay, well, what am I going to do now? Yeah, I might get some treatment. Yeah. So what we do, we shut down enabling. And we do an enabling audit. We write down all the things we're doing that are enabling our loved one. And we stop. And we create a treatment space. Remember, we're the well ones. We decide. Darling, I love you, but this has been going on 6 years. I'm totally convinced that there's nothing I can do anymore that's going to help you. You need treatment. If you do not participate in treatment that I've decided is appropriate, then there's no more support here for you. What would happen if you said that to the person at home? Correct. And why do you think they disappear? Okay, take his eyes, and what else? Manipulate mum by making what? You worry. Where is he? So he comes home after 3 or 4 days and you're so glad he's alive and you're so glad he's back. You just let it all go back to the way it was 4 days ago. Yeah? Yeah. And he knows that pattern. He's conditioned to that, yeah? Yeah. So if we stay in that, what happens? Keep happening, yeah. Keep happening. They stay sick. So for our loved one or our addict to get well or start the journey of getting well, what's the first thing that's got to happen? Those people that put their hand up before and were quite honest about the fact they enable, you've got to change. The first thing that's got to happen is you've got to change. You've got to do something different. Fantastic. So we've just solidified what you've been thinking for a long time. Yeah? I've got to do something different. I've got to do something different. Yeah? That's great. Really good. And we've got to understand that us addicts may not respond as quickly as we'd like. So your fears, he's going to sleep in a park for a week. He's going to run off and use. That may or may not happen. The record where I work is 2 weeks. Because think about it. I've been fed and watered and babied to the age of 34. How long am I going to last out there on the street? Not long. Not long. It's really scary out there without mum. It's really scary. And my friends get sick of me because I'm just like, oh, I got no money. My mum kicked me out. It's all fun. They're like, can you go, man? You're really boring now. Yeah? Because when I'm set up with my enabling mum, yeah, or family, and I've got everything I want, why the hell am I going to go to rehab or stop using? Why? Why would I? Doesn't make any sense. You're crazy. I'm not going anywhere. It's really sweet here. Yeah? Doesn't make any sense. So often to make treatment look attractive, we've got to make other things unattractive. Yeah? And what's really unattractive is sleeping in a park. It's really unattractive. So if they're my 2 options, I might actually start considering treatment. Yeah? Treatment doesn't look so bad now. They've got a bed there. They've got food there. Got people to talk to. They might give me some money when I leave. Who knows? I'll go check it out. I'll become willing, yeah, to at least consider something else. If I've got my gear, I've got my house and I've got my car and I've got my money in my pocket, I'm not thinking about rehab. No way, no way, no way. You're crazy. You're the one with the problem, not me. Yeah? Okay. I'm going to encourage you to do something. Sit down with someone, not your addict, but a support person, and do what we call an enabling audit. Because remember, when we're enabling, what are we doing? We're distracting our loved one from getting well. That's the problem with it. I'm all for having a nice car and somewhere to sleep. But while I'm in active addiction and I'm being enabled, I'm being distracted from getting well. Yeah? And the idea of doing an enabling audit is you can actually write it down and consciously cross them off one by one. Yeah? So, if I may be so bold, you're enabling an addict by simply giving them accommodation. Yeah. Yeah. What else? Any pocket money? Occasionally?
Well, my son works, but
Yep.
he gives me part of his money because he knows he's going to get me.
Great.
So then I can get back to him and he gets rid of all his own money.
Fantastic. So you're providing a financial management service? I'm unmanageable, Mum, so it's your fucking problem now. I'm going to give you my pay, right? Don't give it to me no matter what. But if I come back and I really need it, then give it to me. When I start swearing at you and I'm abusive, then give it to me. But this week's the week I'm not going to use, so yeah, I'm going to bring you into this and just stress the hell out of you this week. Yeah? Okay. So he's got a personal fund manager. Okay. He's got food at home?
I do his shopping.
Oh, you do his shopping? Okay, great.
I charge him for it.
Great. So he's got a personal shopper. A personal shopper. Yeah. That's for all items, deodorant, toiletries, the whole lot. Yeah, thanks, Mum. I'm way too busy to do that. What else? So he's got a laundry service? This guy's smart. What does he eat? I cook, so he's got a personal chef. Okay, cool. Not every night, just what, 5 days? Yeah, okay. He's got a personal chef. Far out. What is he, CEO or something? What's he do for a job? Fantastic. Okay. So he's a personal chef, he's got a laundry service, personal shopping, so he sends you out to get stuff, financial management, he's got the hotel. I presume he comes and goes as he likes. He's 23. So he comes home, showers, heads off, binges, crashes for a few days and heads off again. Okay, great. Does he have a car? So you probably run him around if he needs to get somewhere occasionally? Not so much? Okay, so no chauffeur. Wow, you're tough. I'm not doing this to embarrass you. I'm doing it just to demonstrate what I was saying before. I'm a 23-year-old concreter. I'm using drugs more days than not. I've got great accommodation, financial management, a personal shopper, a laundry service and a personal chef. And you want me to go to rehab? You want me to stop using? What are you talking about? Everything's fine. Yeah? He's manageable because you're managing him. You want to be managing him at 34? 40? 45? 50? I see him every day. I see elderly people come in with their 50-year-old kids at my work. Can you do something with him? Because we're about to die. Literally. And we're worried about what's going to happen to him. Yeah? And this here is what? A distraction for him. Because that's blocking him from saying, hang on a second, I'm not going that well. My washing's piling up. I've been eating beans for a week. I don't have any money before payday. I don't have a car to go and do my shopping. Because you're filling all the holes for him. So you're blocking him. He thinks he's flash. He thinks he's going all right. Yeah? So you need to stop. Because it's keeping him sick. Yeah? When we're enabling, we need to be really pragmatic and honest with ourselves, whose needs are we meeting? Yeah? Little Johnny doesn't need a personal chef at the moment. Yeah? But, you know, if he's had a meal and he's in bed and he's at my place, I can sleep. I'm okay for the night. Well, whose needs is that? Is that yours or his? Yeah? Bit of column A, bit of column B maybe. Yeah, so that's what you're touching on. To stop the enabling can be really difficult because we as a family member get just as addicted to it as the addict. Yeah? So there's lots and lots of support groups out there so that when you make this type of decision, I'm not going to participate in my loved one's illness anymore, which is what you're doing. You're participating in it, you're becoming part of it. There's support groups out there. We run support groups, there's Al-Anon, Aranon, there's a whole bunch of support groups out there, yeah, to help people. Because it is hard. It's hard to stop, and you do worry, what's going to happen to him? Yeah, because what happens over years and years of addiction, the saddest thing is that our opinion of our loved one becomes really low. Oh, he won't cope without me, you know, he needs to live at home. I mean, people used to go off to war at 16 and 17. Our 25-year-old drug addict can't survive a night in the park. I'm telling you right now, he can. Come on.